What I'm about to say, and I'm cutting to the chase, is that there's going to be a war in Lebanon between Hezbollah and the Israeli army. I predicted it months ago. Unfortunately, it's coming true. Once again, that incompetent young man from the White House, Jared Kushner, went over to Saudi Arabia, talked to another incompetent young man named Mohammed bin Salman, who's never been in the army, created a war 2 years ago with Yemen against the Houthis. And because Saudi Arabia is surrounded by Shiites and Iran, and they lost, and because 3 weeks ago, I couldn't even announce on your show that Syria beat our troops and beat ISIS.
Coming up at the bottom of the hour, the former president of Facebook admits the plan is to dehumanize you, make you depressed, and totally control you. We also have their own internal documents admitting it. This is key information, and it ties in with all the big pushes to microchip troops, not just for PTSD, but part of signing up as Sweden moves to make folks that are going to be traveling on the trains and buses take microchips. And USA Today says, you will take it. ABC News says, you will take it. Imagine, I told you 20 years ago they were going to try to make it mandatory. I think the Bible told us 2,000 years ago. The Bible. Get today's news 2,000 years early. So a lot going on. It's coming out that at least one of the Roy Moore accusers works directly for Hillary and for Jones, who is the Democrat candidate for Senate there. This reeks as a political hit job of the Republican establishment trying to hold on to power, going after them as well. But I wanted to get Dr. Steve Pachinik on. We haven't been able to have him on as much because the hurricane devastated Florida. He's been working on that. But now he's joining us to get into what's happening currently in the world, what he sees happening in Korea, what he sees happening in the Middle East, what he sees with the different policies of Trump. But I got to say this. He was on, I guess, about a month ago, and I was talking about how the generals and General Kelly, namely, Chief of Staff, were in the news blocking all Infowars and Breitbart news getting to the president's desk. But it was also other news as well. And that I was really upset about that. And, you know, he made the point that, well, you got 70 employees. The president's got thousands, and if I need to talk to you, I usually have to call one of your crew members, you know, not just you because you're busy. And I understand that, and I understand they had leaks. But now, in hindsight, Kelly has gotten a lot better, actually, on a lot of policies, and Trump has actually gotten more effective in some ways. So I think the proof is in the pudding. But larger than that, I've set up what I'm doing in Austin, Texas. People say, why Austin? Because my family's from here, you know, before California invaded. And I've got my own operation. I'm trying to change the world from kind of out here in the wilderness. And we've been effective, not in the swamp. I don't want to be part of the camp followers. I don't want to be in the swamp. I don't care who's got the presence here, Jared Kushner or Stephen Bannon or any of this. I've had plenty of chances to go have meetings, all these bigwigs and stuff. I haven't done it because it's just kind of sycophantic in a way. Of course, you get a lot of big inside stories and things like that. So when I've been upset at Kushner or I've been upset at Bannon or I've been upset at, it's about policies and ideas, or Kelly for that matter. But I'm not in the cult of D.C. I'm not trying to be part of it. I'm not trying to swim around in it. When I go after somebody, it's because I'm upset about policies and I want them to know I'm upset and the American people are upset. It's not so I get a seat at their fetid table. I want Trump in there to dynamite the D.C. system and try to restore our republic and kick some of these arrogant people out. But that said, Pachinik has said that he thinks Kelly's a pretty good guy. And I think so far, there's been some propaganda out there by people that do really want their lobbying organizations in the White House. And so it's internal power struggles. And then some of the things going on in the White House get exaggerated really in power struggles. And I just want to signal and telegraph, I'm not part of D.C. or Capitol Hill or White House power struggles. It's like when Fox News years ago did a New York Daily News interview and said, Alex Jones tried to get a job with us, but we refused him. an unnamed vice president said. I refused 3 shows with Fox. They wanted me to fly there every Friday, tape shows on Saturday that would air Sunday. No way. No way. Just out of hand. I have a family. I am so proud that I refused the big radio network deals. And then I did all the other stuff and the TV show deals. That's really what I'm proud of. So I just want to telegraph that to everybody. I built my operation myself. Didn't do it with daddy's money. Didn't do it like Kushner, which, you know, more power to you, bro. I'm not trying to be at the trough. Okay? I don't want to hang around in New York. I don't want to hang around in D.C. Horrible vibes. I want to be out in the hill country away from everybody. So understand, I don't want to be in your club. I don't want to be in any intelligence agencies. I don't want to be, you understand? I wouldn't join any organization that would have me. You understand? So I want to just telegraph that clearly to everybody. I'm self-made, and I'm proud of that, and I'm a maverick, and that's the way it is. And I piss on Hollywood, and I piss on D.C., and I piss on all of it. It's disgusting. It's like some ugly, diseased, snaggletooth, pus-filled woman with 14 diseases telling people I want to have sex with them. It's a damn lie. Excuse me. There you go. I'm going to be a good boy here. Anyways, let's get Dr. Steve Pachinik on because, I mean, I have to say he got real mad when I was criticizing Kelly, saying that it was just all internal fighting garbage. And so far, he's been proven about 80% right. We'll see what happens because Kelly's getting better and better about stuff. And I think what I've been told is kind of woken up to what's going on and has gotten more hardcore. Maybe he got his sea legs. But I want to get into all this with Dr. Pachinik. Also, Congressman from Florida, Gates, says that basically they're trying to coup against the president and shopping a coup against the president up there on Capitol Hill. We'll play that clip coming up. So, Doc, there's a big waterfront to cover here, but what should we tackle first?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on, but you and I can disagree and we'll always be friends. The real big issue and why I can't go on the internet is I'm being hacked. Like you, I too am being hacked. Google demonetized me, and the Israelis and some Americans understand what I'm about to tell you, and they're not happy about it. What I'm about to say, and I'm cutting to the chase, is that there's going to be a war in Lebanon between Hezbollah and the Israeli army. I predicted it months ago. Unfortunately, it's coming true. Once again, that incompetent young man from the White House, Jared Kushner, went over to Saudi Arabia, talked to another incompetent young man named Mohammed bin Salman, who's never been in the army, created a war 2 years ago with Yemen against the Houthis. And because Saudi Arabia is surrounded by Shiites and Iran, and they lost. And because 3 weeks ago, I couldn't even announce on your show that Syria beat our troops and beat ISIS. And so what's happening is there's a lot of distraction going on the domestic side in order for you and me to avoid what the real issue is, and that is Lebanon will be put into play. And once again, Israel will probably attack Hezbollah, while the head of Hezbollah, whom I have known about, and I've worked against Hezbollah, and I worked with Hezbollah, is going to fight the Israeli army. And this is what they don't want me to say to you. That's why I can't go on the internet. That's why they won't allow me to publish a lot of things. But they clearly signaled that they're going to war with Iran.
Well, sure, let me be clear, and I'm glad we got you on. They're like picking people up that are guests on the show now, the FBI is. I mean, I know you've been called in to federal court as well about the show, but this is getting serious. Yes,
that's correct. The FBI and I do not get along because from the very day that I had to deal with the FBI in the Hanafi Muslim episode where 150 hostages were taken hostage in 3 different buildings, the FBI messed it up so badly that I was brought in. I was sworn in by the prosecutor, Earl Silbert. I took it over, and then I said to the FBI, you had a bad behavioral profile. You didn't know what you're doing. You couldn't rappel from the helicopters. You were not any good. You're incompetent. Since that day, they know exactly how I feel about them. I've said you were created by a cross-dresser who was a manipulator and a sick individual, and it continued through Mueller and the 9/11 issue, and the FBI got pissed. because I said you're incompetent.
Well, Dr. Pachinik, this is important. Let's get into the civil war in Islam and all the different factions and the Sunnis and the Shiites and what's really happening in Saudi Arabia, because that is the real reason we got you on. What's happening in Saudi Arabia? Is it spilling over into America? Because that's the info I have, is that Vegas and other events are spillovers of this whole Saudi situation. We'll be right back with Dr. Steve Pachinik on the coming war he says is about to take place. So we've got this Prince bin Salman and the new king that are in charge over in Saudi Arabia. Trump goes over there to make deals. You got Kushner running around the middle of it. And all I want is stability and peace. But let's talk about, from Dr. Steve Pachinik's sources, and of course he's worked for different agencies in the State Department and best-selling author with Tom Clancy and a lot of other things under his belt. He's given us a lot of good information over the years. What's currently happening? I mean, they're admitting that there's about to be a new war in the Middle East, and that all these machinations are going on, and that we see a lot of the older line globalist connections kind of being severed. We see them trying to modernize in some ways. I mean, what are the positive areas about the new people in charge? And then what's negative and what's really behind the helicopters blowing up and the firefights? And I mean, reducing this down, what's currently happening in the Middle East that they don't want in our news?
What they don't want in the news is the fact, number one, we lost the war in Syria. We had spent trillions of dollars. Obama had sent over $500 billion, or moderate, terrorists. It was a total nonsense created by the CIA, Panetta, Petraeus, and all the nonsense in the war in Syria. Syria eventually won. That means Russia, Iran, and Syria were the dominant powers. Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Israel lost. In turn, what they're doing right now is that the young prince, who's really incompetent, and started a war in Yemen against the Iranians supporting the Houthi. His name is Mohammed Salman, as you said. But the key person here is a name called Harari. I knew his father. He's the son, but he's the president of Lebanon. The Harari family was always beholden to Saudi Arabia. So the young prince called him back to Saudi Arabia because Harari has a Lebanese passport and a Saudi passport. But it's a very bad sign for Harari to remain in Saudi Arabia these days, because basically he's held hostage. What that means, in effect, is that Saudi Arabia and Israel wants to designate all of Lebanon as Hezbollah empowered country, and that's not true. You have phalangists, you have Shiites, you have Sunni, you have Druze. It's a very complicated area. When the Syrians were in there, they were able to maintain peace. But now Saudi Arabia is surrounded by Syria, which they lost to Iran. You have Iraq, where we lost it to Iran. Saudi Arabia is on the
I understand.
border.
If you look at this geopolitically, under Obama and what's happened in the last 8 years, we have absolutely lost the Middle East. But some would argue that was a strategy of destabilization and globalists selling out the United States, because you and I were talking 8-9 years ago about how this was destroying, U.S. dominance and also putting bad people in charge. So how can we see what's happening and then just say they're incompetent? I mean, this was done on purpose. They funded the Arab Spring.
Correct. Well, because we're not putting in jail the Muellers, the Hillary Clintons, the warmongers, the people in the CIA.
Sure. So what's about to happen as this war escalates?
What's about to happen now is Bibi Netanyahu has just been indicted. He, his wife, all of his friends, all of his cabinet have been indicted by the Israeli judicial system, basically saying you're so corrupt. So you've got internal problems in Israel, you got internal problems in Saudi Arabia and Lebanon. What Israel is going to do is attack, with the permission of America, because for the first time we announced, and nobody's heard it, a full-time base in Israel with American weapons, meaning we have missile systems and airplanes there. We never had that before, and we kept that quiet. But for the first time, it was never covered in the newspapers. We publicly announced we are with Israel, and we will fight whomever Israel fights. Now, Israel forgets that in 2006, Bibi again incompetently went into southern Lebanon to attack Hezbollah, and he failed. It was a war that was supposed to take over for 3 days. I found out.
Sure. Hezbollah was dug in and had light anti-tank weapons and took out their...
Exactly. And they took out the equivalent of what we consider in America at a 30-to-1 ratio. In other words, every Israeli soldier is the equivalent to 30 Americans in number. They took out about 35,000 dead Israeli soldiers in equivalent numbers, and it was a failure. And once again, Bibi's going to go in there, and the Israeli government is going to mobilize the IDF, and they will fail again. This time, Hezbollah is fully armed, and more importantly, the Hezbollah fighters are part of the Lebanese army. They're no longer terrorists. It's nonsense to consider them terrorists.
Well, the bigger issue is now, as you said, those corridors have been open now with the ongoing wars in that area, and so the Iranians have brought in their Revolutionary Guard and heavier weapons, reportedly, so this could get really bad fast.
It's going to get nasty, and it's not only going to get nasty, it has no legitimacy on our part. We have no national security interest in the Middle East with regard to Iran. Iran has done nothing to us.
Well, let me ask you this. Who do you think's advising? You really think Trump is listening to Kushner?
Yes. No question about it.
Well, I've learned in the last couple of months, Trump's really turned on Kushner. And again, I don't like even getting in the middle of this. I don't even like knowing this stuff. But you see it in the news now, but I knew months ago that Trump is very angry at Kushner over...
He may be. I have no qualms about that. But what I'm saying to you, and you're right on many things, but Roger Stone said this well into 2 months ago, that there would be an impending war in the Middle East. He never elaborated. Now, what I'm saying when I came back on, number one, they want to make sure I don't get on the internet or video. This is not by accident. This all happens intent.
No, I understand. Well, then let me ask you this. We'll come back to the next segment. You can talk about whatever you want.
Yes.
What do you make of blowback and information on Vegas and this mental patient tried to kill his command? They put him in a mental institution. He escapes. They don't file the paperwork that he's not allowed to own a firearm. I mean, this whole thing smells.
Yeah, but this is where you and I may differ. It, again, has the footprints and the heavy footprints of the FBI all over it, because every time you look at one of their profiles, it's the same dynamic with Sandy Hook. The guy was mentally ill, he escaped, and then they blow up the building and make sure there's nothing left. This is the incompetency of what I consider to be a Stasi.
Sure. What do you make of the Sandy Hook, Adam Lanza documents the FBI released?
It was nonsense. They had to overcome what I was saying and you were saying, because I knew very well that the psychiatrist whom they hired at Yale was just paid off.
I know, but it's in the new documents that Lanza was working with the CIA.
Oh, no, it's nonsense. The whole thing was nonsense. And what it shows to you is that we're wasting...
Are you saying the FBI stuck that in there? Are you saying the FBI stuck...
I'm sorry?
You understand the documents the FBI released, they say Lanza was visited by the CIA and recruited by him. Is that the FBI sticking that in there to go after the CIA?
The FBI has it. Let me put it this way. The FBI is a totally corrupt, dysfunctional organization created by a cross-dresser, homosexual, who tried to manipulate presidents whom I worked with and was detested by Nixon, by many others in the system. What the FBI is now is a dysfunctional organization, as personified last night, where the head of counterterrorism was found drunk.
The children's Super Blue bubblegum flavor, all natural, fluoride-free, iodine / colloidal silver toothpaste is back in. That's been sold out for 3 months. Sign up for auto ship, get an additional 10% off, cancel anytime.